1-week delay.
Well, yeah, because Nancy Pelosi said go home, don't come to the House, because it's closed. You're going to have to reopen the government. If we're going to negotiate, she reopened the government, and what happened? We really aren't getting much done. The president tonight is probably going to say, ladies and gentlemen, the state of our union, not so hot, but it could get better if we can work together.
I think he added to the speech. He's probably just making additions to the speech he was supposed to make on January 29th. I think something he's adding is 304,000 jobs were added in January. That's huge. We have seen 100 straight months of job growth.
Right. But you know what? I think tonight will be unique because the president is going to be able to talk about something that is going on in the news that is our lead story to make the case that we need to do something about our southern border.
Immigration, the border wall, straight to this Fox News alert. Thousands of migrants are at the border now. They are waiting to cross into the United States.
All right, most of them started their journey in Honduras about a month ago.
Griff Jenkins joins us live from the shelter in Mexico where the migrants could stay for up to 3 months. But Griff, those are the migrants who are going to go through the port. Others that you've been talking to over the last couple of days have said, Donald Trump, I'm not going to tell you how I'm going to sneak into the United States.
Yeah, guys, good morning. You know, you play that song, Go Big or Go Home. Well, let me tell you, the migrants, the 2,000 or so behind this fence with barbed wire on the top that are being kept in there because the Mexican officials don't want them out on the streets. They don't want to go home either. Now, the situation here in Piedras Negras, which is across the border from Eagle Pass, Texas, is one where there is a river, not much wall, not much fence of any kind in this sector. And the concern is that they will come out of this structure, go down to the river, find a shallow point, and cross that sector over there, the Del Rio sector of the U.S. border, up 300% in family apprehensions. We talked to the Governor Miguel Riquelme. He is the governor of Coahuila State that bused them on almost 50 buses to come here yesterday. It was assistance and support. But I asked him, I said, what are you doing to try and prevent these immigrants from crossing illegally into the U.S.? Here's what he had to say.
In coordination with the federal government, we are seeing if tomorrow the Immigration Institute that don't have the right to be here to return immediately them to their place of origin.
Now what he's saying there is that they're going to go in. This is the Institute of National Immigration. You can see these prison vans down here. There's a larger force of federal police. Now what they're going to do here shortly is they're going to go in this facility and find out who has papers under that temporary asylum, which is a right to be here for 1 year. That's what the new Mexican president gave them. But the ones who don't have it, the governor says they're going to immediately begin deporting them, and that is not going to sit well as these migrants are going to wake up to find out many of them may be forced to go home today, guys.
Okay, so Griff, for those migrants who may be forced to go home, are they the ones who you have spoken to over the last couple of days who have said, you know what, we're going to try to just sneak into the United States, someplace where there's no wall?
Absolutely. They're the ones that came when we first started this on January 15th in Honduras, came through Guatemala, and of course Mexico just left the gates open as we reported on live TV. They had no intention of registering. They wanted to get the jump to get up to the U.S. border because that was their final destination all along. And in this area where there's nothing but the Rio Grande, the soft river areas, they had planned to go across, but they're being held inside here right now. And they're not going to be happy to find out they can't finish their journey this morning.
Yeah, and guess what, Griff? There's just going to be more. So this is a story. Every caravan's going to have their other story, but there's always seems to always be another caravan.
And it's interesting.
That's exactly right, and there are 2 more caravans, as we've mentioned. That is one starting on Thursday, February 7th, one next week on the 16th. And what they're saying is that the Mexican government will support them to get to this point. What happens to them next is going to tell the rest of the story.
That's right. All right. Griff Jenkins live on the Mexican side of our border. Thank you very much. So the news of the day is probably going to work its way into the State of the Union tonight with the President of the United States. Apparently, according to people who are familiar with what he's going to say, look, Look what's going on our southern border. I consider it a national emergency. If you want to do something, great. But if you don't, and he's going to be turning around talking to Nancy Pelosi, whether he turns around or not, he said, if you don't want to help, I'm going to do this on my own. And some have suggested he's ready to declare a national emergency. He's got other things that are available to him, including the fact that he's going to send 4,000 more troops down to our southern border to keep an eye on things.
Yeah, they know those caravans are coming.
Yeah, I mean, it's, it's need to be there because Congress can't come up with an idea, but that money was to rebuild our defense, which has been depleted over the last 8 years. It's frustrating to see it go to the men and women.
DoD reprogramming.
Yeah, you're talking about $770 billion to rebuild our military, and now we're putting all this money to have our men and women stand on our southern border, which we're already spending border patrol.
It's about priorities.
Absolutely. I think they're saying first let's focus on the border, then we'll deal with the military. We'll try to find funding later for that. But they have to send someone down there. We've got thousands of of people in these caravans coming through.
But they're not allowed to stop them directly, but they'll back up and support the Border Patrol. But what probably bothers me more than anything else, they're not even talking now. With the 15th coming up in the leaders aren't going to come to a deal. They don't want to waste their time.
Maybe
That's inexcusable.
Maybe the president can try to bring some unity, because this is the theme of this is choosing greatness. The theme of his speech tonight, renewing a call for unity to end the politics of resistance and find common ground. Some of the topics he's supposed to focus on tonight: immigration, trade, infrastructure, lowering health care costs, and national security.
Yeah, he's done a lot already on trade. The USMCA looks really strong. Did I say that right?
The new NAFTA.
Thank you. That looks really strong. I'd be surprised if it didn't pass, but who knows? And then you keep all these reports we get out of the high stakes China talks are also threatening to put jet fuel into the global economy. Should we actually get tangible results? So the president's got a lot to talk about. But overall, I get the sense he wants to keep it positive and keep his hand out as if to say, I'm willing to make deals on all this stuff.
Look, it's 2 years before the next election. A little less than that. He needs to widen his base. The people who voted for Donald Trump love the fact that he's gotten so many judges passed, people on the circuit courts, things like that. Like trade, like the unemployment number, would like to see something happen with immigration and our southern border. Here's the president's press secretary talking a little bit about what we could see tonight starting at 9:01 right here on the Fox News channel.
You can be sure the president will certainly talk about the historic success that he has had over the last 2 years. And the economy is on fire. And that is a direct result from this president getting rid of regulations, pushing through the tax cut legislation. Wages are up. Unemployment is down. You're going to continue to see the president push for policies that help continue the economic boom. You're also going to see the president call on Congress and say, look, we can either work together and get great things done, or we can fight each other and get nothing done.
So, in other words, you're going to help, or do I have to do this by myself? You know, ever since 1982, and if you're old enough, you remember that terrible crash in Washington, D.C. when the Air Florida plane crashed on the 14th Street Bridge. A guy who worked for the Congressional Budget Office, Lenny Slutnik, was watching from the bank and saw a woman who could not cling to one of the lines on a helicopter that was trying to save her as they were pulling people out of the icy Potomac. Lenny Slutnik jumped in and saved her life. And shortly after that, President Ronald Reagan invited him to be the guest of the president and sit next to Ronald Reagan's wife, Nancy Reagan. Since then, they have invited various Americans for a variety of reasons, and the president, this time around, no exception.
Yeah, tonight there are going to be different people that were invited, and we'll go through the list of some of the ones included. Deborah Bissell, Heather Armstrong, and Madison Armstrong. They are the family of Gerald and Sharon David, the Nevada couple killed by an alleged illegal immigrant.
Angel families.
Yeah, and remember Alice Johnson? She was pardoned by the President of the United States thanks to
Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, Kim Kardashian alerted to this story, and the president used that momentum to help pass bipartisan criminal justice reform, which I think he'll get applause applause on both sides of the aisle when he mentions that tonight.
Also, the plant manager at Vicksburg Forest Products, Roy James, you'll hear his story tonight. Then you've got Officer Timothy Mattson, who responded to the Tree of Life synagogue shooting. Also, we understand apparently Judah Samet, who was a survivor of the Holocaust and lived through the shooting at the Tree of Life, will be in attendance as well. And then you've got 11-year-old Joshua Trump, a sixth grader from Wilmington, Delaware, not related to the President of the United States, but his parents told the story about the fact that his last name is Trump. He has been bullied for the last couple of years, and the President's going to call him up and give
make
him
him
a shout
famous.
out.
And I bet you that's Melania, the First Lady, because she's always talking about bullying. That's one of the main things online and in person. And I think that also fits with her theme. And again, my prediction,
It's awesome.
What would you like to hear the President say tonight? Email us, friends at foxnews.com, or Facebook us. In the meantime, 6:11 here in New York City. Time for some news. And what is the very latest from Virginia?
Yeah, not a good story to report, guys. So let's go ahead and start with this Fox News alert. A police officer was killed in a shootout in Virginia overnight. State Trooper Lucas B. Dowell gunned down by a suspect during a drug raid near Farmville. Dowell joined the force in 2014 and is remembered for his, quote, strength of character, tenacity, valor, loyalty, and sense of humor. He leaves behind a parent and a sister. The suspect was shot dead. The governor of Virginia's alma mater will try to explain controversial yearbook pictures today. Eastern Virginia Medical School is now investigating all past yearbooks in the wake of Ralph Northam's racist photo scandal. This happening as Lieutenant Governor denies claims that he sexually assaulted a woman 15 years ago. Justin Fairfax suggesting that Ralph Northam's supporters could be behind the allegations. Today, jurors will begin a second day of deliberations in the El Chapo trial. The Mexican drug lord is charged with 10 felony counts and could face life behind bars if convicted. Acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker stopped by the New York City courtroom Monday to thank government lawyers working the high-profile case. The trial is now in its 11th week. The Super Bowl, 11 so far. The Super Bowl champs touched down back in New England. The Patriots back home in Boston for today's victory parade. Notably absent, though, MVP Julian Edelman and Tom Brady, who spent the day where else celebrating the big win at Disney World. Over 1 million fans are expected to flood the streets of Boston today to celebrate the team's record 6th title. And initially I'm thinking, man, it's only Tuesday, right? It's early to have this parade. I'm like, but they are professionals at parades now. They know how to do
it all the
this.
time.
Well, I mean, Tom Brady and Edelman, are they getting paid to go down to Disney? Because
I don't know.
Yeah, I
I'm
hope
sure
so.
they are.
I don't know, but
how do they make ends meet, those two?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Jillian.
Yep.
Straight ahead, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez wants to abolish ICE, but now an MS-13 member is accused of killing a man on a subway platform in her district. Dr. Sebastian Gorka says this is why her policies put Americans at risk. Zoom out. Go to break.